Hi guys, and welcome back to another devlog about Skyland. Let's dive right into the development stuff. Some of you suggested that the fire on the torch should point upwards, so I adjusted it so that the tip of the fire tries to point upwards. It makes it a little bit more natural. I will also add some nice smoke particles in the future. The next thing I worked on was a ground gradient thing. So basically each object knows on what material it is placed on. Based on that, I create a small color gradient in the fragment shader so that it feels more attached to the environment. Without that, some of the objects just look detached from the world, and it allows me to do one other cool thing that has something to do with ores. So I created 3 basic ores that you can find in caves for now: iron, tin and copper. In this biome the caves are out of dirt, hence the ores have a dirt gradient. Snow biomes will have ice caves, sand biomes will have sandstone caves, and so on. And because I use those material gradients from the trees on the ores as well, they will always look like they are embedded inside the cave. That was kinda the main reason why I implemented those gradients anyways. Another thing I added are dead ends and a little bit more variation to the cave generation. As one of you guys mentioned in the comments, they looked like giant worms stuck them, so now they are no longer those perfect circular caves. As you might know, I'm currently exporting my physics from Blender into a JSON file, and my engine reads that file. It wasn't fully supporting all kind of bullet physics objects yet, so that was another thing I worked on. I can finally make compound physics objects and import them into my engine without any additional work. Many of you left a lot of suggestions in the comments last time, and I seriously appreciate them. They will make the game way better. Here's just a quick list of the stuff you suggested that I will probably implement in future devlogs. Ragdolls for enemies, goblin attacks where it jumps at you, and BOIDS for birds. If you have any suggestions as well, just leave it in the comment section. So now to the next thing I worked on. The first cave enemy. It is kind of an enemy that should surprise you at any time. A cave worm. If you're loud near it, it will come out of its hole and attack you. To avoid that, you can sneak and destroy its hole with a pickaxe. You can also attack it with a mace while it's outside the hole. The cave worms drop orbits that I added into the game right after them. Alongside with those orbits, I also added stone that can be harvested from the giant rocks on the surface of the islands. Later on in the game you will be able to smelt those bits into ingots and craft some basic machinery and create an electric grid with it. The caves are not final by any means yet, but I moved on to my next task. A fully functional chat. UI stuff in OpenGL is pretty tedious because you basically have to write every basic function by yourself. First you start off with some simple text rendering, then you implement a basic cursor for a text field which you can move around, then marking and erasing text, copying text, pasting text, text splitting for text fields that span across multiple lines, and so on. After all that stuff you have a chat, just a chat. I also added simple color coding where you basically write the hex code of a color inside 2 brackets to change the text color within a line of text. So now you can send messages to other clients, but what I need the chat for as well is commands. I already implemented the command system in the last devlog, so now I simply integrated it into the chat. The first 2 basic commands are to change the game mode and to teleport to another position. Obviously those commands won't be available to the user later on except if he has some special admin rights. Can't fully remember what happened to achieve the look of this clip, but I thought I should share it with you anyways. Textures got messed up and I had my font rendered everywhere. On to my next task, placing objects in the world. So here's the basic functionality. It shows you where it will place it and you can rotate it by holding down the right mouse button. You can't place it yet because I worked on another command in the meantime, the spawning entities command. This allows me to test the functionality of certain entities better. So the first thing that I did was to test if the cave worm attacks other entities that don't sneak around it. Turns out that it didn't mess up its functionality and it indeed attacks other entities as well. So now back to the building stuff. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I also added a crafting recipe for the campfire. I also mentioned in another devlog that I wasn't quite sure if I would allow floating buildings because of the floating theme of this game and because it's quite tricky to implement non-floating buildings. And yeah, I decided to not allow floating buildings. Here's a basic test of it. As long as a building is connected to the ground over other buildings, it will not get destroyed, like in Fortnite basically. And of course you won't be able to stack campfires on top of each other in the final game, but I used it to test the feature. So yeah, that's been it with the progress over the last weeks. Over the next 2 weeks I will focus on editable walls, floors, roofs and stairs, like in Fortnite, and maybe some basic items like crates for storage. If you have any feedback, make sure to leave it in the comment section and I will see you guys hopefully in the next episode. Bye!